Hello, BookTube. Shall we try some mail to wrap up the week? I have a few packages here, a couple of boxes. Let's see if we have really interesting stuff or only food for thought. let's give it a try and see. This first one has a pleasing amount of weight behind it. Could be it's a finished copy of something. Oh, great. Fantastic. Terrific. Okay, this is the finished copy of something we've seen on this channel before. Oh, the baby. The baby is yawning. Oh, hi, baby. we met two dogs that she now recognizes. She now knows them. They are the sweetest pair of dogs. They're so gentle and so quiet. And she's not. She's neither gentle nor quiet. And she zeroes in on dogs like those to bully them. I'm constantly telling her, don't do that, baby. Don't bully them. Especially since I want to squat down and face smooch with them. And she only bullies dogs because she doesn't know them. Or because she's temporarily forgotten that she's already established the pecking order. It's not hard to establish a pecking order with these two boys. They are as mild and meek as could be. But she now recognizes them. She doesn't do anything like that. She just walks up to them to greet them. I wish she would just skip to that step with all dogs. But we had a rather elaborate greeting today, so it was very, very nice. But anyway, this is Jonathan Healy's book, The Blazing World, A New History of Revolutionary England, 1603 to 1689, a long period for her revolution. This is the finished copy with the deckled edges. We don't have a sheet for it, but we'll just read the dust jacket here. The 17th century was a revolutionary age for the English. It started as they suddenly found themselves ruled by a Scotsman, and it ended in the shadow of an invasion by the Dutch. Under James I, England suffered terrorism and witch panics. Under his son Charles, state and society collapsed into civil war, to be followed by an army coup and regicide. For a short time, for the only time in history, England was a republic. There were bitter struggles over faith, and Parliament asserted itself like never before. There were no boundaries to politics. In fiery, plague-ridden London, in coffee shops and alehouses, new ideas were forged that were angry, populist, and almost impossible for monarchs to control. This is the story, basically, of that century. Fantastic. I think this is out already, but this is the finished copy. What you doing, baby? Huh? Everybody likes seeing you. They don't care about the books. They just want to see the baby being. That's all. It looks like we might be getting some sunlight, which would be really nice to walk around in after a solid week of rain. Let's see what this next one is. It also has a bit of weight to it. That's two. I'll just manhandle it apart like we were mountain gorilla. This could also be a finished copy. Throw all the detritus on the floor. Someone will pick up after it. What do we got here? Yeah, this is a finished copy of something. What? Oh, great. Fantastic. Okay. This is one I've already read. I strongly recommend it for those of you who are interested in reading about tech, and you really should be. You really should be. Because I want to stress that any kind of tech scam or hacker hijinks that can happen to you can happen to your hospital or the company that does your direct deposits from work. So you really ought to keep abreast. But this is Scott Shapiro's book, Fancy Bear Goes Fishing. Uh-oh. Are we going to get some Frieda yoga? Are you preparing for Frieda yoga, little girl? Is that what you're doing? Hi, baby. How are you? Who's the baby? Oh, it looks like we're going to have to put this in the show notes. Oh, oh. Right to the tips of our toes. I swear this is the weirdest channel anywhere on YouTube. But anyway, let's see here. This is Fancy Bear Goes Fishing. I want to read this to you again. This comes out in May. This is late May release. And those of you who are interested in tech books, boy, this is probably going to be the best one of the year. It's a signal paradox of our times that we live in an information society but do not know how it works. And 40 years ago, in the great BBC miniseries Connections, James Burke actually says that. In the final episode, the great peroration at the end of the final episode, when he is gropingly putting together all of the technology that he has been talking about in the whole series, and you can watch him gropingly almost seeing the internet. He almost sees it, even though it didn't exist yet. And in that episode, he strenuously tells his readers that if you don't understand the technology around you, if you don't make the effort to do that, you can be guaranteed that people will, and they will rule you by virtue of that fact. But anyway, and without understanding how our information is stored, used, and protected, we are vulnerable to having it exploited. Absolutely true. Do you have two-factor identification? Do you encrypt anything? Different passwords for different things? Separate logins every time? Bet you don't. In this book, the author draws on his popular Yale University class about hacking to expose the secrets of the digital age. With lucidity and wit, he establishes that cybercrime has less to do with defective programming than with the faulty wiring of our psyche and culture. And because hacking is a human interest story, he tells the fascinating tales of perpetrators, including Robert Morris, the graduate student who accidentally crashed the internet in the 1980s, and the Bulgarian Dark Avenger, who invented the first mutating computer virus engine. We also meet a 16-year-old from South Boston, not me, I promise, who took control of Paris Hilton's cell phone, and the Russian intelligence officer who sought to take control of the U.S. election, and others. This is fascinating reading. Absolutely fascinating reading. So it'll be on your bookstore's new release shelves at the end of the month, and your library will certainly have considered it. They will certainly have considered it. If they have it on order, put yourself online to get it. Put yourself on the list. If they don't have it on order, maybe request it, because it's really well done. It's really good. All right, so great. English history and Fancy Bear Goes Fishing in the finished copy. That's great. Now we'll do the boxes. We're off to a flying start here in terms of mail. Let's see what this first one is. Quite big, whatever it is. Oh my God, it's got lots of stuff spilling out of this box. What is all of this stuff? Oh, you look very serious. Very weird to have just someone's face on the cover of a pub sheet. I probably don't need any of that. Oh, okay, great. All right. I have seen this online. Other critics have been, I believe the phrase is galley bragging, where they get a galley in the mail and they want everybody to see, ooh, ah. I can't imagine. Actually, I can't imagine. It's only the uber dorks who are part of the reviewing world that would think that gives them cool points. But this is Emily Wilson's new translation of the Iliad. Following up on her translation of the Odyssey that came out in 2018 or 2017, something like that. I am pleased to enclose a galley copy of Emily Wilson's translation of Homer's martial epic, the Iliad, the much-anticipated follow-up to her 2017 translation of the Odyssey, the first by a woman into English. Capping a decade of intense engagement with Homer's poetry, this long-awaited new book gives us a complete Homer for our generation. Okay, all right. Well, there's one other contender. There's one other big, high-profile Homer translation that is coming down the pike in 2023. It's not just Emily Wilson, but I'm sure this is what it's going to look like. And that is a lovely design. We just continue with largely lovely American cover designs. What have we got here? When Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey appeared in 2017, revealing the ancient poem in a contemporary idiom that was, quote, fresh, unpretentious, and lean, according to Madeline Miller, writing in the Washington Post, critics lauded it as a revelation. That was Susan Chira, writing in the New York Times, who used that, and a cultural landmark. That was Charlotte Higgins, writing in The Guardian. That would forever change how Homer is read in English. Now Wilson has returned with an equally revelatory translation of the first great Homeric epic, the Iliad. In Wilson's hands, this exciting and often horrifying work now gallops at a pace befitting its best battle scenes, roaring with the clamor of arms, the bellowing boasts of victors, and the anguished cries of dying men. Wilson's unadorned but resonant language plumbs the poem's profound pathos and reveals its characters as palpably real, even, quote, complicated human beings. For some reason, complicated is in air quotes. No idea why. Capping a decade of intense engagement with Homer's poetry, Wilson's Iliad now gives us a complete Homer for our generation. All right, well, this will have a long introduction, probably, and a translator's note. Yeah, it's going to have an introduction and a translator's note. But out of curiosity, we're still long off. This comes out in September. But out of curiosity, let's see how she handles the famous opening of the Iliad. Oh, you're going to get going to get maps as well. Very good. Okay. Let's see how she handles the... oh, look at that. Good Lord. Even the... you even get camp plans, where all the people are, the various groups are on the windy field of Troy. Let's see how she handles the famous opening, the invocation to the Muse. Goddess, sing of the cataclysmic wrath of great Achilles, son of Peleus, which caused the Greeks immeasurable pain and sent so many noble souls of heroes to Hades, and made men the spoil of dogs, a banquet for the birds. And so the plan of Zeus unfolded, starting with a conflict between great Agamemnon, lord of men, and glorious Achilles. I kind of like that. That's a little bit of a variation there on that famous thing where sent so many noble souls of heroes to Hades while their bodies rotted as food for dogs and birds. Here she splits it up, made men the spoils of dogs, a banquet for the birds. That's kind of interesting. I like the ring of it. Spoils of dogs, banquet for the birds. Okay, great. Well, that is not a bad opening at all. I will not tackle this until much closer to the date in question. I certainly won't tackle it next month. Every June of every year, I reread the Iliad, and I won't be reading this then. I will leave this. I'm not going to read the Iliad as in the same way that I would read a new release. Right? I mean, this is the Iliad. It's the thing that the single work of literature that I know the best and that I've read the most times. But Emily Wilson's translation of the Iliad is a new release. It's a new thing. It's going to get reviewed absolutely everywhere. Everywhere. Huge review in the New York Review of Books. Long write-up in the New York Times. Probably the cover review for the New York Times Book Review. Everywhere. Everywhere that has a venue, it's going to get reviewed. I wonder if it will be part of a larger Homer discussion, because Edward Mendelssohn's translation of Homer is also coming out this year. And I don't know exactly when. I think it's in the autumn. Unless I've got the dates completely wrong, that could mean two big, highly anticipated Homer translations in the same season. Which I hope doesn't happen, because if that does happen, they'll get reviewed together. And that is always to the detriment of individual books if they get lumped into a roundup review. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. We shall see. But in any case, I don't know if I can make it clear, but it's a totally different mind frame for me. To reread an old favorite is a totally different mind frame from reading a new release, that I intend to write about. So I can't possibly do Emily. You might think it's perfect timing, but I can't possibly do Emily Wilson's translation of the Iliad in June. I'll do something else in June. But anyway, that we're doing just fine here. We have English history. We have a really good tech book, Fancy Bear Goes Fishing, and we have a translation of Homer's Iliad. So it's going to be really hard for this final book to ruin this mail haul. I find it almost impossible to think that it will. Let's see. I could be wrong. We could be headed straight into food for thought. But this is, I think, all in all, a very Steve mail haul. Okay, all right. Well, we're just going to continue with this. All right. So, fantastic. What a great mail haul. This comes out at the end of June. This is by Nicholas Mathavon, and it is called The Voices of Nature, How and Why Animals Communicate. You have an elephant seal, a hyena, a bird of some kind, and a lizard of some kind. Crocodile or a crocodilian of some kind. What have we got here? What is the meaning of a bird's song, a baboon's bark, an owl's hoot, or a dolphin's clicks? Of course, before we read more in the pub sheet, I should stress that there are large segments of the meaning of those things that we cannot know, that we will never be able to know. But anyway, in this book, the author explores the mysteries of animal sound, putting readers in the middle of animal soundscapes that range from the steamy heat of the Amazon jungle to the icy terrain of the Arctic. The author reveals the amazing variety of animal vocalizations. He describes how animals use sounds to express emotions, to choose a mate, to trick others, to mark their territory, to call for help, and much more. And by sheer coincidence, all of those functions happened on the same night during one of my honeymoons with Deb. It's bringing back memories. Express emotion, choose a mate, trick others, mark their territory, call for help. Yeah, it's bringing back memories. What may seem like random chirps, squawks, and cries are actually signals that, like our human words, allow animals to carry on conversations with others. For readers who have wondered about the meaning behind a robin's call or the cicada's relentless chick, 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 this book offers a listening guide for the endlessly varied concert of nature. Very nice. Very, very nice. That's fantastic. This is the end of June, and I'm all for it. Absolutely all for it. Because I am directly involved. There's one particular family of animals whose sounds are completely comprehensible to me. What are you doing? What are you doing? I was praising you, and now you're acting up. So this will be great. There's one tiny little corner of the animal soundscape that is not merely incomprehensible sounds and clicks and woofs and hoofs to me, but is completely comprehensible to me. And that gives me, so to speak, a dog in the race. Although it's not don't be fooled by hyenas. Whatever they are, I know they look kind of, sort of like a dog, but believe you me, they aren't. I cannot talk with them. They cannot talk with me. They don't make any sense at all, and they don't listen to me. So, and I know that firsthand. I know that from firsthand experience. When I was looking at one and thinking, well, you kind of look like a dog. Surely, whatever that connection is going to snap into place in about 35 seconds, the way it usually does. And it didn't at all. Instead, I was facing this group of Pleistocene monsters that eat bones. So what other animals are in here? I wonder if this will tell me. Oh, no, it doesn't. Instead, it's broken up mostly by types of sounds. Cockatiels, warblers. I think this is probably a warbler at the top there. You bird people would know better than I would. Crocodilians, elephant seals. Interesting. Elephant seals. Okay. I've met them too. They are absolutely terrifying. There's no other word for it. They're absolutely terrifying. And boy, oh boy, you don't think it when you're looking at them, but the big bull males, the ones that have a ton or a ton and a half on them, they can move on land. It's clear that they are evolving for life at sea without ever coming on land. But they're not there yet. If they want to, they can get to you. Anyway, Voices of Nature, fantastic. Okay, so this is a June release. Great, a finished copy. Well, this was just about as good a mail haul as I can ask for. So we've got Voices of Nature, How and Why Animals Communicate. We have a new translation of the Iliad, for God's sake. Which one we should have known for sure that this was a Steve mail haul. Emily Wilson, how many of you have read her Odyssey translations? Probably in all of your libraries. Maybe it's in some of your schools by now. I'd love to know what you thought of it, especially if you're a fan of Homer. If her Odyssey translation was not the first Odyssey that you've read, then what did you make of it? Then we have the finished copy of Fancy Bear Goes Fishing, all about computer hacking and the way humans act online in a broader sense, and The Blazing World, about a century of political upheaval in England, which is getting to me one day before the coronation of King Charles III. Coincidence? Or the Illuminati? I don't know. But anyway, I need not have worried about this mail haul. Fantastic. If they could all be like this, I would be mighty happy. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.